Hello and welcome to the video. My name is Cam Ward and today I'm going to be doing a video which I've been meaning to make for a while but really wanted to test a lot more before making this video. Just a very quick fire mini review of kind of DaVinci Resolve, my experience switching to it after using Premiere Pro for over 10 years now. Now I did try quite a few times, maybe 3 or 4 times to make the move to DaVinci, and every single time I just bounced off it. Now, as mentioned in previous videos, I do have a relationship with Blackmagic directly, and every time I'd go for meetings with them, they would ask me if I'm using DaVinci or Premiere, and I would always say Premiere just because it's what I'm used to and it's kind of the industry standard for commercial work. So there are still projects where I will use Premiere Pro on because a lot of agencies use Premiere, so it's easier to kind of provide project files and just kind of work in one kind of ecosystem. But the shift is slowly happening even on these bigger projects to DaVinci from what I've noticed. Now, everything has been pretty much smooth sailing, and I'm glad that I held off on doing this video because there was one major red flag moment which happened during my move, which did get me feeling like I might have made a mistake here. So I don't want to start this video on a big negative note, so we'll get into that one later on. But first, let's start with some of the things that I like about the switch to DaVinci. First of all, I'm going to say reliability. Overall, it has been far more stable than Premiere Pro ever was. There are a few things with like applying, I've noticed when I apply effects to audio in DaVinci, it can bring the system to a crawl. Blackmagic were kind enough to sit down with me and kind of run me through the software directly and just help me understand it better from a workflow from someone who's been using Premiere for so long. I did initially go in there and set up the Premiere Pro presets for the keyboard, but I quickly turned them off because I decided it might be best that I actually learn this software for how it wants to be used. Saving, I think it's one-click save, so every time you're doing something it saves automatically. You're not being stopped every 5 minutes, which is what I have my autosave set to on Premiere. But holding up your whole workflow, breaking everything, and you just got to sit there and wait while it saves. So even if it does crash, you're saved exactly where you're up to, which is awesome. Also, if you're coming from Premiere Pro, if you're like me, sometimes I do like to stack my timelines or just have a few timelines open and tab between them. There are a lot of nice quality of life things if you're coming in from Premiere that will help you get up and running nice and quickly. So I use an M1 Max primarily for editing. I do have a Windows PC as well with a RTX 4070 in there. I've not really used that for editing too much right now. I actually just prefer to work on Mac when I'm doing anything like editing or creative like that. Performance has been amazing. Recently I've been shooting on the Ursa 12K and I was doing some multicam 8K, and we had a Pocket 6K and a 4K. We had multiple streams of 8K, 4K and 6K footage all running at once, smoothly, incredibly smooth. And also when I started to apply color grading effects on there, it was just incredible to see and so much easier and more productive. Now, multicam's not something I usually do or work in, so this was actually probably my first experience setting this up truly with the viewer and the multicam setup, and it was just so easy to work with, and it made editing everything so much quicker, especially when I had to go back in and re-edit everything, which I will get back into in a minute. So yeah, overall performance is very, very impressive. Export speeds are just blazing quick, incredibly fast. There are a lot of other features as well in Resolve which I've been very curious to try but haven't used yet, but those are things like the cloud features, being able to put your clip straight up into the cloud, start editing straight away, especially with the new Blackmagic cameras. That's something you can do. Some of the remote features as well are very cool. I've not used them myself, but I've seen them in demos and testing. But essentially having 2 editors being able to work on the same project at once is incredible. So I guess the last thing on the pro side for Resolve is that you can really feel like Blackmagic are wanting to develop this thing further, bring it to more platforms. The fact that it's got an iPad app is pretty incredible as well. That runs very smoothly from what I've seen. But it's really cool to see because I've wanted an iPad version of Premiere Pro for ages, and instead we got like Adobe Rush, and it's just not the same. Often when I'm doing directing work, I don't want to have to carry my laptop around with me, and it would be much easier just to carry the iPad and not feel kind of held back if I need to do anything on the iPad. So yeah, very cool to see the innovation, really cool to see them pushing the tech forwards in terms of the industry. And it's the software that I've been recommending to people getting into editing just because it's free for starters. So that is just amazing to see. And lastly, obviously I can't we can't talk about Resolve without talking about the grading suite. It's the industry standard for color grading. It's a very powerful set of tools, and it can be a little bit daunting if you're just doing work for, say, like, if you need to turn around quick 30-second videos. There are workarounds to make that workflow fast. But when you first get into it from Premiere, for me, I was like, well, I'll just put an adjustment layer on, 2 adjustment layers, and just kind of quickly check the clips. And I did find that to be a little bit quicker at the time, but now understanding Resolve and the workflow better, Resolve is far quicker and more powerful. Yeah, I would really take some time to understand the workflow and your workflow in DaVinci, but either way, so far, it's been far quicker and the results I've been getting out of it are far more pleasing to me. So let's get on to some of the bad stuff about DaVinci Resolve, some of the issues I've run into. I mean, let's just get the first one out of the way. This is the major red flag I was kind of alluding to, something which I was like, completely threw me off. So for years now, in Premiere Pro, I have always kept the project files in my kind of root folder with all the edits and everything. I know where everything is and it's organized. With DaVinci Resolve, it uses something called a database, and all your projects are kind of just in this database. And when I spoke to Blackmagic, I was like, do I just export these project files from sending them to another editor? In short, they were basically like, you don't need to get the project file because it's all in the database. So I'm like, awesome, okay, cool. They showed me how to get the project file. You can just export it, it's pretty easy. In my mind, after speaking to them, it seemed like this was a pretty stable, rock solid thing. Yeah, I also noticed that. I opened all versions of DaVinci and there was a test project in there from ages ago, which I'd completely forgotten about when I was trying to make the move. But of course, as soon as I started using this thing for professional work, I updated DaVinci and the whole database had gone. And I was like, great. I'd lost maybe 6 or 7 hours worth of work. It really hurt to lose work. You never want that. And especially because you're in the moment on that project, and a few months later when you come back to it and you need to reopen it, it's always hard going into an old project, but it's even harder when the work's lost and you need to then try and scramble to remember how you put it together. I lost hours and hours of color grading on a certain project, and it was just so disappointing when I was so excited about using this product and it was so good to be using a stable editing software again. It was more disappointing than just having constant crashes. I'd actually lost a lot of work here, so I was very disappointed with that. I updated Resolve. I redid a lot of the work. Now I am consciously making backups of those projects' databases, which is apparently something you're supposed to do, but not something which was really mentioned to me when speaking with Blackmagic directly, and not something that's mentioned in tutorials either. So yeah, there's a tip for you as well to start doing. So second con is Fusion. So I used to do a lot of round tripping from Premiere Pro to After Effects using linked compositions. I really enjoyed this workflow. Most of the time it worked fine. Now Fusion just, for me, doesn't hold a candle to After Effects in terms of usability and ease of use. But even trying to follow tutorials, I find it very difficult to get my head around, and it's just not really worked. You know, when you follow a tutorial and all of a sudden yours does not look like the tutorial. I've just had that a lot, and I've really tried to get into it, but I've really struggled. So I would like to see more from Blackmagic in terms of streamlining the Fusion setup and make it easier to integrate more advanced effects. The big reason for everyone switching to DaVinci was some of the advanced features that they brought in. Premiere is really moving forwards as well now in terms of some of the AI implementation they're bringing, such as generative fill for video. The two are directly competing, and I would love to see what Blackmagic come up with next for Resolve. That's what happens with competition, and that's why competition is so good, because it pushes other companies to innovate. One other issue I had with Premiere Pro is that there was a lot of stuff when I was using it. It just felt like the company didn't know which direction they wanted to take it in. It was changing for like influencers and kind of fast media, and perhaps moving away from more like traditional film and side. So every time I opened the program, things moved around, things had changed, the export windows had changed, and it all felt way more complicated than it needed to be. What I like in DaVinci right now is it seems pretty stable and everything seems to be kind of where it is, if that makes sense. So I'm hoping they don't change things around too much and they kind of stick with where they're going right now, because the software is great as it is. So that's pretty much this video. I hope it wasn't too long-winded. Sorry, it's a lot of my face on this video because it's just, there isn't much to cut away to really. Yeah, I hope that you found this helpful or useful. Do you have any questions about Resolve, or you need any tips or advice? Drop me a comment below and I'll do my best to kind of help you out there. I'm still learning new things as well, so if there's anything you can teach me, just let me know. If you do want to see more of my work, follow me on Instagram at CamWardFilm. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.